In the heart of Africa, where the golden sands meet the shimmering waters of Lake Chad, the ancient Kanuri kingdom thrived for over 1,000 years. This was a land of powerful sultans, bustling trade routes, and deep-rooted traditions. Among the Kanuri lived a young man named Bashir. He was known for his sharp mind and even sharper ambition. He watched the caravans of salt, ivory, and gold pass through his city, and a fire burned within him. He didn't just want wealth. He craved influence, the kind of legacy that would be spoken of for generations. He saw how the elders were revered, their wisdom sought by all. He yearned for that same respect, but he lacked the patience to earn it through years of service and dedication. Bashir spent his days observing the rhythms of the court, learning the customs and, more importantly, the loopholes. He noticed how titles and honors were bestowed, how favor was won and lost. He believed he was smarter than everyone around him, that he could play the game better than anyone else. His ambition was like a desert mirage, promising an oasis of power that was always just out of reach, driving him to take risks others would never dare. He was a man waiting for his moment, and he was willing to do whatever it took to seize it. This relentless drive would soon set him on a path from which there would be no honorable return. One year, as the harvest season drew to a close, a momentous announcement echoed through the kingdom. The sky gods, deities revered by a neighboring culture high in the distant mountains, were holding their sacred sky festival. This was a rare event, an invitation extended only once a generation. They requested that the Kanuri send their most worthy individuals to receive a divine blessing, a blessing said to grant wisdom, longevity, and prosperity. The Sultan and his council carefully selected a group of the kingdom's finest, seasoned diplomats, wise elders, and virtuous community leaders. They were to be the messengers, representing the collective spirit and virtue of the Kanuri people. This was the opportunity Bashir had been waiting for. His heart raced as a cunning plan began to form in his mind. He knew he could never be chosen based on merit alone. He was too young, too unproven, so he would have to rely on his wit. He approached the chosen messengers one by one, his words coated in honey. He spoke of unity, of strength in numbers. "We are all children of the Kanuri," he'd say with feigned sincerity. "This blessing is not just for a few, but for the entire kingdom. Let us go together, not as individuals, but under a single, powerful banner." He proposed a title for their collective, the gift of the people. It was a brilliant stroke of manipulation. The name was humble yet profound, suggesting that their journey was an offering from the entire nation. The messengers, noble and trusting, were moved by his apparent selflessness. They saw in his passion a reflection of their own devotion to the kingdom. They agreed that presenting themselves as a unified gift would be far more impressive to the sky gods than arriving as a scattered group of individuals. They welcomed Bashir into their ranks, believing he was the architect of their unity, the very heart of their collective identity. He had successfully inserted himself into the most honored delegation of his time, not through virtue, but through a masterful deception. The journey to the mountains was long and arduous. They traveled for weeks, their spirits high, bound by the shared purpose Bashir had so cleverly fabricated. He walked among them, no longer an outsider but a key member of the delegation. He listened to the elders' stories, absorbing their wisdom not to learn from it, but to use it. He studied the diplomat's tact, not to practice it, but to perfect his own manipulation. He was a wolf in the midst of a flock of sheep, and the sheep had welcomed him as their shepherd. As they ascended the final peaks and the air grew thin, the magnificent sky temple of the mountain tribe came into view. The festival was about to begin, and Bashir's plan was nearing its climax. They were welcomed with great honor. The mountain tribe saw them not as individuals, but as the entity Bashir had named them, the gift of the people. The feast was grand, a celestial celebration under a blanket of stars. The air was filled with sacred chants and the scent of rare incense. The high priest of the sky gods finally stepped forward, holding a ceremonial goblet filled with a glowing, ethereal liquid, the divine blessing. He raised it high and called out, "We welcome the Kanuri and honor their offering. Let the one who bears the title, the gift of the people, step forward to receive the sky's grace on behalf of all." This was the moment. A hush fell over the crowd. The Kanuri messengers looked at one another, ready to step forward as a group. But before they could move, Bashir strode confidently into the center of the ceremonial circle. He bowed deeply before the high priest, his voice ringing with false humility. "I am the one," he declared. "I am the gift of the people." The messengers froze, a wave of shock and disbelief washing over them. They saw the deception in a flash of terrible clarity. The title he had created for them, for their unity, was never meant for the group. It was a key he had forged for himself alone. The high priest, unaware of the treachery, saw only a single, bold representative. Following the sacred protocol, he offered the goblet to Bashir. He felt a surge of energy, a warmth spreading through him. He believed he had absorbed the wisdom and longevity meant for a dozen of the kingdom's best. He had stolen the blessing, a treasure intended for his people, and claimed it entirely for himself. As he lowered the empty goblet, he turned to face his companions, but he did not see admiration in their eyes. He saw only betrayal, disgust, and a profound, chilling silence. The feast ended abruptly. The mountain tribe, sensing the deep discord, quickly ushered the disgraced Kanuri delegation away. The journey back was a torment of shame. The other messengers shunned Bashir completely. They would not speak to him, look at him, or share their water or food with him. He was an outcast, a ghost walking among the living. The unity he had feigned was replaced by a chasm of his own making. One by one, the other members of the delegation, being more experienced and resourceful, found their own ways home or joined other caravans. Soon, Bashir was left utterly alone. He had to cross the vast, unforgiving desert by himself. The divine blessing he had so greedily consumed offered no protection from the blistering sun, the freezing nights, or the gnawing hunger. The supposed wisdom he'd gained felt like a hollow echo in the empty expanse. Every shimmering mirage seemed to mock his ambition, and every gust of wind whispered the word thief. He was stripped of his dignity, his companions, and his honor. His once proud stride was reduced to a desperate shuffle. He was no longer the clever manipulator, but a lone, pathetic figure, a stark silhouette against an endless horizon of sand. His ambition had led him not to a throne, but to a desolate, solitary hell. After what felt like an eternity, a gaunt and broken Bashir stumbled back into the Kanuri kingdom. He was almost unrecognizable, his fine clothes in tatters and his spirit crushed. The story of his betrayal had traveled faster than he had. It was carried on the winds, passed from merchant to merchant, until every person in the kingdom knew of his disgrace. He was met not with anger or punishment, but with something far worse, pity and contempt. He was allowed to live, but his name became a curse, a synonym for treachery. The very legacy he had craved was now a monument to his shame. He lived out his days as a pariah, a living reminder that ambition without honor is a poison. And so, for generations, the Kanuri elders would gather the children by the firelight and tell the story of Bashir. They told of his cleverness and his ambition, but they always ended with his lonely walk through the desert. The tale became a cornerstone of their culture, a lesson etched into the heart of their society. It served as a powerful warning. Trust, once stolen, can never be regained. And a legacy built on deceit will only lead to a lifetime of shame, a solitude more punishing than any desert. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story and want to explore more tales of history and folklore, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.